Well, hey there. Welcome to the Movie Review Mom YouTube channel. If you are a subscriber, yay, thank you for coming back. I really appreciate your support. And if you are brand new to my channel, yay, you found me. I'm so glad. My goal is to give you the heads up on filmmaking quality and content so that you can make the best decision for you and your family as to whether or not you want to spend time or money or both watching a specific film. So today, the specific movie I'm reviewing is called The Little Mermaid, this newly reimagined version of the beloved animation from Disney is now playing in theaters. It is rated PG and is 2 hours and 15 minutes. The movie review mom grade I'm giving is an A minus. I know it's weird that a film critic would give you a review before I've explained anything. So keep watching, don't click away. I'm going to give you an overview in a nutshell, and then I'll point out things I liked and didn't like, as well as offer tips for parents, themes worth talking about, interesting lines, funny lines, if there are any, and recommendations for other films that I think are somewhat similar that you might also like if you like this one, or you might like better if you don't like this one. All right, let's dive in. In a nutshell, Disney has received a lot of terrible reviews of their previous live action remakes in recent years. However, as of the opening weekend at the box office, this live action remake actually has their highest rating scores ever. Audiences are loving it and critics not so much. So despite audiences mostly loving this new movie, there has been a lot of criticism about various elements in the remake from Hans Christian Andersen purists who think that Ariel should be white with red hair because that's how she was in the book, to the drag community who is finding fault with casting makeup specifically about Ursula, and then everything else about the movie. Disney doesn't seem to care as they already have two more live action remakes scheduled to hit the big screen in the near future. This version of the popular Disney musical was directed by Rob Marshall. Writing credits go to David McGee. So just like the original animation, the story is about a young mermaid who makes a deal with the sea witch to trade her beautiful voice for human legs so she can discover the world above water and impress a prince she fell in love with, only looking at him within seconds. Well, with all of its controversy, what did you think of this movie? Comment down below. On a personal note, I watched the original animated movie with my children when they were very young. I have a very melancholy attachment to the original animation, so my expectations were extremely high for this live action remake. I still favor the original animation, but this one is still a nice addition to the Disney collection. So here's the list of some things that I really liked about the movie. First of all, this remake features the lovely Halle Bailey as Ariel. She has a beautiful voice and truly captures the look of innocence and wonder as she discovers the world of humans, both under the sea and on dry land. When it was revealed that she got the leading part in the movie, the hashtag not my Ariel went viral. The controversy wasn't necessarily because she's African American, but because a Black Ariel wasn't true to the Danish origin of the story by Hans Christian Andersen, as I mentioned. So if you've seen the movie, do you agree or disagree with that sentiment? I thought she did a great job and it was lovely to see her perform. I also love that this film includes a cute cameo with Jodie Benson, who voices the original Ariel in the animation. In this movie, the actress slash singer is seen as the person who gives the new Ariel a fork, what she calls a dingle hopper. It was great to see Jodie Benson again because she was so magical. Jonah Hauer King compliments Ariel as Prince Eric. However, I wish that we could have gotten to know his personality a little better. He's pretty generic throughout the entire movie, of course, because the movie is focused on Ariel, but still. The rest of the talented cast includes Melissa McCarthy, Javier Bardem, who's fantastic, Aquafina, who's the comic relief, Noma Dumasweni, David Diggs, Jacob Tremblay, Art Malik, and more. Lizzo actually auditioned for the role of Ursula and even wore an octopus costume during audition. I love that spunk and that can-do attitude. I'm a fan, however, of Melissa McCarthy, and I thought she did a fine job, even doing all of her own singing after being coached by Eric Vetro. It just made me wonder if Lizzo might have been a stronger Ursula, both in presence and in a powerhouse singing voice. Bette Midler would have also been an absolutely fantastic Ursula. I love the Divine Miss M. But Disney didn't even reach out to her. So I'm curious how these casting decisions are made. There were some missed opportunities, I thought. But then again, I thought Melissa McCarthy did a fine job. I'm just wondering, I wanted more. This version honors the original animation while still giving it new legs to a new generation of little girls who don't look like the typical Disney princess of old. The movie is so colorful, so vibrant, and so imaginative. Now, of course, they are borrowing heavily, often scene for scene lookalikes, but they did sprinkle their own little magic tastes and twists on this version. I love all of the undersea creatures and how they interact with Ariel, except the sea snakes. Does anybody like those? I was like, oh. The costume designer, Colleen Atwood, worked very hard to ensure all of the mirror people had accessories that actually were made from the sea. I love fine details like that. Now, Disney swapped out the old English sheepdog for a bearded collie, just like they did in the 2006 movie, The Shaggy Dog. I don't know why, just thought I'd mention that as a fun fact. And there are other things that are different as well. We also get 4 new songs in this version, which is great. The music was written by Alan Menken, who's a lot of fun, just like in the original, but the lyrics were created by Lin-Manuel Miranda, the talented creator of the huge Broadway smash hit Hamilton. He also did lyrics for Moana, as well as several other musicals, and he does a fantastic job. Fun fact, it took 4 years to film this movie because production had to shut down during the COVID-19 pandemic, like many movies. I'm not sure when we're going to see the end of that. It's interesting that they're still being released, even though it's mostly over, dare I say. All right, now let me move on to some of the things that I didn't like or just thought could have been done differently or better. For example, I admit that I'm completely biased and in favor of the original, The Little Mermaid, because I have so many special memories of watching it with my children. That being said, this version isn't as bad as some people are saying. It just doesn't quite have the Disney magic and spark as the original did for me. Now, I know some people are reviewing it and saying, worst Disney movie ever. And it's not. If we had never had the animation, we would probably go, oh, how charming. Maybe not put it at the top of our Disney movies. But again, it's not as bad as everybody is saying on certain review sites. One of the biggest complaints that I've been hearing about this remake addresses the pacing. Now that I tend to agree. There was no need to make this movie so long, especially because we're comparing it to the animation. If you struggle with vertigo, as I do, you might get dizzy during a few scenes when the camera spins through seaweed and coral really fast under the sea. That made me dizzy just doing that motion, where I was like, oh no, that's the very beginning of the movie. And I'm like, oh no, am I going to be dizzy this whole time? And it really was just that first part. Now, as a mother watching this story, it just made me laugh at how quickly and easily Ariel and Eric for that matter, fell in love with someone that they had never met or even talked to. As a mother, I'm like, come on, you need to get to know the person before you fall in love. Some of the mermaids, mermen, mer people look super CGI. There are some bad CGI movie moments in the movie, which is unfortunate. In a live action, you expect live action with a little dusting of CGI to bring in some of that magic from the animation. And there were some moments where it just didn't work. And I was like, wow, that was a bad edit. It was that noticeable. I was so sad that two songs from the original animation were removed, Daughters of Triton and Les Poissons. And sadly, also missing is the adorable Chef Louis. Now, I know they had to cut in order to add new songs and new things. But one of the new songs called Scuttlebutt was just annoying and not charming. And I thought, that one could have easily gone and left maybe one of these other two. Now, since this is the age of feminism, like every movie out there these days, Scuttle, the male seagull in the original animation, is now a female, of course. Let me give you some tips for parents. There are people and creatures in perilous situations. There are dishonest conversations. Jealousy is shown, some greed, and definitely power is shown. And speaking of that, let me share with you some of the other themes that are illustrated so that if you do watch this with friends or family or your kids, that you can say, hey, what did you notice about this thing to extend the conversation? So some of the themes addressed and illustrated very well are love, definitely family, sacrifice, wanting to see what's out there in the world, as well as appreciating what you have growing up with or wherever you're living now. I remember I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area and really close to Stanford University, Saratoga, Cupertino area, and just couldn't wait to leave and see the rest of the world. And now when I go back, I'm like, what a beautiful place to grow up. And I think, wow, I sure wish I could afford to live there now. And then another theme, of course, is finding your place in the world. All right, so I always write down funny lines and interesting lines simply so I can share them with you so you can get a taste of the dialogue, maybe a little touch of the script writing. So I didn't write down any funny lines for some reason. I don't know. I guess I was getting caught up in other things that I was noticing. For example, the color palette is very dark under the ocean, probably to make it look realistic, whereas the animation makes it look very bright and colorful. But anyway, let me share some interesting lines with you. And I have them all written on my written review at moviereviewmom.com. So you can see that and other things there. But one of the lines is spoken by Prince Eric, who again is played by Jonah Hauer-King. And he says, I'm trying to reach out to other cultures so we don't get left behind. And he explains that as the prince and the future king, that's one of his goals. And I thought that's an interesting statement, kind of shoved into a Disney movie, because that's exactly what they're trying to do, is include lots of diversity and make some choices with even politics and the woke culture so that they don't leave anybody out. And some people love that and some people not so much. Sir Grimsby, who is played by Art Malik, says, don't be held back by what should be. Think only about what is. And in many ways, that is very good advice, because if you're dreaming about what is never going to be, or even what was, you're missing out on the gift that is the present. And then King Triton, who is played very well by Javier Bardem. I really like him pretty much in everything he does. Javier Bardem gave a fantastic performance in a very cute movie called Lyle Lyle Crocodile. Family friendly, check that one out, but I digress. All right, so this quote was actually, it's a conversation between Ariel and her father. And again, Ariel is played by lovely Halle Bailey. And she says to her dad, thank you for hearing me. And he said, you shouldn't have had to give up your voice to be heard. And that's a great lesson for all parents who have children that have different values, different standards, different goals than them, that despite it all, they need to know that they still matter and that they're still loved. And to feel judged by your own parents is really heartbreaking. So spread that love and let it truly be unconditional. Now, I say that because for several reasons, personal reasons, but also because some parents say, I just want my kids to be happy. And I, of course, want my kids to be happy, but I also want more for them and for me than just that. I want them to be productive. I want them to be kind and resourceful and good citizens, all of those things in addition to being happy. Okay, so now I kind of got off on my little soapbox there. But anyway, let me give you some recommendations for some other live action Disney movies that I actually really liked. The first one is Cinderella with the beautiful Lily James. I thought it was magical, whimsical, beautiful. I thought Lily James gave us such a lovely Cinderella. And I've watched it many, many times by myself without kids around because I enjoyed it so much. I wish she could have sang more in the movie because she's got a beautiful voice. Another live action remake based on the animation is Cruella, the one starring Emma Stone and Emma Thompson. I really liked it because it wasn't an exact duplicate of the animation. There was definitely a unique spin and a really interesting one and a creative one with fantastic performances. And then in addition to these two live actions that I highly recommend is, of course, going back and watching the original, The Little Mermaid. If your kids haven't seen it, ask them to compare. What did they like and didn't like? And you can have some really interesting conversations with that. All right, that is it for my review. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me. Please comment down below. Let me know what you thought about the movie as well as the movie review. I really appreciate all of your comments, and I read and reply to every single one. If you get a minute, run over to Instagram and you can find me as Movie Review Mom, but you can also find me on my author profile on Instagram, Trina Boice, because that's my name. Anyway, have a fantastic day, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.